Hey everyone, thanks for joining today's webinar on our new dynamic reporting. My name is Chris and I'm also joined by Heather from our product team that's going to talk about some of the details of how to use dynamic reporting and some of the best practices and things to take a look at when you're viewing it. So just to give you a quick overview of what dynamic reporting is and why we decided to come up with this. It's basically an enhanced way to take a look at your program's data and to view some of the ways to look at your trends for how you can best analyze that and then put that to use for your program strategy and how to kind of pinpoint the most important things that you want to look at for your program without having to dive too much into all the different reports individually. So two key things that I wanted to kind of bring up before we dive into some of the specifics for how to use dynamic reporting. It gives you a lot of ways to access your publisher trends. So it's always important to take a look at your publisher trends in terms of monthly or weekly trends to get an idea of publishers that might be going up or down in terms of performance and a number of other metrics that you can look at. So dynamic reporting gives you an easy way to take a look at that and be able to quickly analyze and kind of put that together for your strategy. And then going along with that as well, it also gives you some insight into your creatives. So it's always a good idea to take a look at which creatives are performing well for the program, but you might be able to identify some trends with certain months where you ran sales, or maybe you had some new creatives and you can get an idea of who's performing well with that creative or what publishers might be using it. So dynamic reporting gives you a lot of ways to kind of take a look at that insight a little bit quicker and get some better access to that. And so with that being said, I'm going to pass it over to Heather, who's going to take us on a walk through some of the different ways to look at your dynamic reporting.
Thanks, Chris. Hi, everybody. My name is Heather Ader, and I am our VP of Data Products and Integrations here at Pepperjam. Today's recording is going to be recorded, and we've got you guys all on mute now, but at the end, we'll open it up to a Q&A session. If you don't want to forget your question, there's a questions box in the GoToWebinar, and you can type your question in that, and we'll address your question at the end of training. If at any time you have any issues hearing the training, please message the presenter in the chat box, and we'll do what we can to address it. The topics we're going to cover today are what are the benefits of dynamic reporting, how to access it in the network, how to use it, what the data sources are, and then how to submit feedback so that it gets to me and I can understand what you guys are looking for and work your requests into our roadmap. Dynamic reporting is really meant to be reporting for executive summaries, optimization, and analysis. So it's very flexible, and the key word to think of when you think of dynamic reporting is exploratory. So this is designed so that you can continuously filter, expand, and refine the reporting that you're looking at. In particular, we are paying close attention to summary trends at the weekly and monthly level, so giving you important metrics, trending those over time, looking at publisher vertical trends, and then also creative type and detail trends. These are going to allow you to craft valuable insights. Also, we've added metrics that maybe we haven't had, metrics or dimensions that we haven't had in the network before. So a return on ad spend calculation, publisher category defined by Pepperjam versus not being defined by the publishers, publisher counts for a given program in total, those that are like total joined to the program, those that are inactive click only, and revenue only. We also have share metrics available that we didn't have before, so share across across publisher category. And then my most favorite part that we've included is a data dictionary. So within dynamic reporting, we have a link to a glossary that will give you like very, very specific details on how each metric is calculated and like where it comes from, and then also what a definition of each dimension in the reporting is. All right, so now let's talk about using dynamic reporting. Dynamic reporting is available from either the standard program navigation if you are a user that only has one program in the network, but if you're also an MCL user, meaning that you have multiple programs that you manage on our network, you can access dynamic reporting from your MCL user landing page. So for both standard users and MCL users, if you look in your left navigation under the Reports tab, you'll see a link to dynamic reporting. When you click on that, it opens up a new window. No incremental logins are necessary. And this is kind of the screen that you'll be landed on. First I'm going to walk you guys through like what each element, each of these 5 elements are on the page. When you first open dynamic reporting, you'll always be landed on the monthly trends tab. And then using the top navigation, these are all different tabs, which are really like different report views for you to look at. Any selections or filters that you make in one view will carry over into the next view. There's just one exception there, and that's on the Products tab. And I'll talk more about that when I get to the details of the Products tab. The next orientation, so coming back here, is the Filters bar. So this is just under the tabs. And in the Filters bar, this is where you'll see what selections or filters you've applied as you start to explore and maybe drill in or undo or redo different filters. The different buttons that you can use here, there is a leave a corner here. Up at the top, there's these undo and redo buttons. These are very similar in functionality to like an undo or redo button in Microsoft, like Excel. And then this button right here, this X, this will clear all your selections. So if you've got filters on publisher name, month, and metric type, if you hit this X one, it will clear all those filters out. Next is actually applying the filters. So just under that filter selection is where you actually go in to choose your filters. You'll see we have filters for, this is on the monthly trends tab, filters for program ID or name, metric type, and metric type is either orders or leads. By default, they're both selected, but if you have a program that doesn't track leads, then it'll just be orders only. You don't have to use that filter. Publisher category, I'll talk more about publisher categories and where these come from in a bit. And so the way this works is when you actually click on this, it opens up a drop-down, and then you can select one or many categories in here. So this red box will clear any selections you've made in here, and then the checkbox, after you've selected it, these will be highlighted green, and then you hit the green checkbox, and then it'll appear up here in the top as something you've selected. If you're noticing that you have some content that's grayed out, this means that you've already applied a filter and with another filter selection, and the filter that you've applied means that you've already filtered out all of these. You can still click on these, but if you do, then it will clear the other filter you have. Okay. So a little bit more on filters. By default, if you're an MCL user and you have access to many programs or more than one program, when you're in dynamic reporting, you can toggle in between your programs from here. You don't have to go drill in first into advertiser A and run a report for that advertiser, then come back out and go into advertiser B. All from within dynamic reporting, any program you have access on, you can toggle between using that program ID name filter. Whenever you're in the monthly trends tab, you're going to want to use, go ahead and select a month-year combination, and typically you're probably selecting the most current month. So right now it's May 24th, so you can select May 24th, or you can select the month of May 2018 in the month-year filter, and that will give you a month-to-date value return. Metric type, I mentioned this one earlier. This is orders plus leads by default. If your program only has orders in it and you all don't track leads, then if you don't use the selection here, we'll just be selecting orders since you don't have any leads. Program ID we talked about. Currency. By default, the currency is US dollars. You can toggle to native, and so native is the view that will give you any non-USD currency view for your particular program. If you are aggregating multiple programs in your result set, you want to make sure that you're selecting US dollars in case the programs have different currencies. It won't work if the programs have different currencies if you flip over to native. And then you have lots of optional selections that you can apply, publisher category, creative type, creative ID, publisher name or URL. One of the cool things I like is sometimes we need to create multiple publisher IDs for a particular publisher, like Retail Me Not. You can aggregate, like if you wanted to get a trend of Retail Me Not across the 3 publisher IDs, you could select those 3 in your filter and over here and view just a trend for Retail Me Not individually. So that's kind of an example of like the exploratory nature and flexibility that dynamic reporting offers. More on filters, you can do wildcard searching within filters. So a normal search, you might just start typing in ABC, and these are the results that you'll get back. If you use a wildcard search with a wildcard at the beginning and the end, so here's an example using company, it'll pull back any string that has the word company in it. So I tend to use wildcard searching a lot when I'm searching for publishers or categories. So next, just kind of orientation on the layout of dynamic reporting. You'll see on monthly trends and weekly trends, you'll see a lot of trend charts. On some of our other tabs, you'll see different types of visualizations like pie charts or stacked bar charts. So right away on the monthly trends tab, we have 10 trend graphs, same thing on the weekly view, for like the most common metrics that people want to trend over time. And then in the glossary, this is the last kind of piece on the layout that I wanted to point out. If you click into the glossary, it opens up a new tab, and you can use this search up here to search for any metric or any dimension that's anywhere in any of these tabs, and it'll tell you exactly what it is and where it comes from. The nerd in me really loves this feature. So looking at the monthly and weekly trend tabs, they are exactly the same except one tracks monthly and the other one tracks weekly. In here, you have all of these different filters available for you to use. On the weekly one, you'll see that there's an incremental value here that tells you the fiscal week start day for a given program. By default, this is Sunday, but if you have a different fiscal start day, you can submit a ticket through the case system and ask that yours be updated to whatever day of week you want it to be updated to. Most commonly this is Sunday, but sometimes people want this to be like Saturday or Monday. And then you'll see we have comparisons for each key metric that show you the current week's value and then last week's. Whatever is here in current week or this week, that's based on what you select here in this week-year combination. So if you selected 2 weeks ago, that would be what appeared in this week, and then the week prior to that would be reflected in the week and last week. So whatever you select here will update the this week and last week values and be reflected here in the chart. Weekly graphs, weekly trends tab, very similar to monthly, but in your graphs you're tracking weeks of the year. And you'll see these like slider bars in your weekly charts here. And that's because showing 52 weeks in one graph can be really busy, and so we put these slider bars in here so that it's easier to visualize what you're trying to look at. The other thing, for any graph or chart in dynamic reporting on any tab, you can right-click on that visualization and hit download. If you're in Chrome, you'll have to allow pop-ups to see it. And then it'll open up an Excel spreadsheet for you that has the data behind these charts and visualizations, which is really helpful if you're trying to do some deeper analysis on something, or you want to take the data quickly out in Excel and pop it over somewhere else. We talked about day of week start. Publisher category. So this is a tab that shows you month-over-month trends at the publisher category level. We have a variety of different visualizations that are available to you. You can apply filters in this tab. And then we also have recently instituted a new dimension in the Pepperjam network. We created a primary publisher category. This is hand classified by folks over at Pepperjam to avoid publishers kind of self-selecting themselves into a particular category. You may notice a couple appearing under unclassified. We have 80,000 publishers that we're working through, so we haven't quite made it to every single one of them, but in general, like the top 300 publishers are definitely already classified, and we're working through about, like, I don't know, 50 or so a week. So you'll see the unclassified decrease over time. At the bottom of the publisher category tab, you'll see that we have for each category this month, percent month over month, and then year over year percentages as well. And again, just a reminder that you can download each of the data behind each of these tables. Next, we have two tabs on publisher detail, one that gives you a month over month view and one that gives you a week over week view. The data in here is very similar, except one is meant to be for monthly reporting and the other one is week over week. So here's an example of what it looks like, and this is where you'd see the week over week percentage. If you're on the monthly tab, this says month over month percentage instead. All the same filters are available here. And this publisher table that's at the bottom can get pretty big. To see all of the metrics, scroll to the right of it, and to see all of the publishers, once you scroll all the way to the right, this vertical scroll bar will appear, and you can use that to move up and down as well. Creative type and detail. In here we have some share visualizations as well as a summary by creative type. And then we also have the top 5 text links, top 5 banners, and top 5 coupon links that you can use in here to start to drill into the details. Under product detail, this is kind of our most simplest view. Product details will only be populated if we get a product feed from an advertiser. And in here we show just the quantity that was purchased and the revenue. Orders is the only metric type that's applicable for product detail. Leads, it's not an applicable metric type for product at this time. Okay, so that's kind of an overview of the tabs and how to navigate within dynamic reporting, and I want to spend just a little bit of time talking about data sources. For dynamic reporting, this represents data in the network up to the previous day, and typically the previous day's data will be available around 10 a.m. Eastern on the current day. So today is data up through yesterday is available. We often get asked, is the data in dynamic reporting based on transaction summary or transaction history data? Transaction summary and transaction history reports are kind of different types of performance reporting you can get in our regular network reporting. And so for dynamic reporting, all of the data in here is based off of transaction summary. And so now I just want to give you like a brief overview of what the difference is between the two so that you guys understand contextually what I mean by that. So I'm going to walk you through an example. A customer placed an order number 123 on January 1st. This order contained 2 items in it. Item A was for $25 and item B was for $50. So this is an order date of January 1st, and the activity for this order was January 1st, like because the order happened on January 1st. And revenue for this order is $75. Then on February 5th, this customer returned item A to the advertiser. So the activity for that return happened on February 5th, but the order it's associated with was January 1st. And the revenue for this action was a negative $25 associated with that return. And so now let's think about point in time. So if I'm at the end of January and I'm running a report, the return hasn't happened yet. So summary reports, they roll data up to the order level. So I'm summarizing my data at the end of January, no returns happened yet, so I have $75 associated with the date of January 17th. Now history reports, they roll data up to the activity level. If I run this report at the end of January, the return hasn't happened yet, and so it's still $75. Now let's fast forward to the end of February. The return has happened. If I run the reports that I'm summarizing up to the order level in my summary reports, the $25 gets credited back to January, back to the order date. So January has a $50 revenue amount. February is nothing because the order didn't happen in February. Now, if I'm looking at history reports, again, this rolls up data to the activity level. So it essentially freezes it in time. So when I run the history report at the end of February, January has revenue of $75 and February has revenue of -25 because that's the activity of the return. So in dynamic reporting, all of our data is based on summary reporting and rolling everything back up to the order date. So when you're toggling your dates in that, you're toggling your order dates. Okay, and that's pretty much it for today. So I'm going to tell you how to provide product feedback, and then we'll open it up to questions. So all of our prime advertisers that are on the call today, you guys have the option to create a case in the network. And in here, if you want to give feedback on dynamic reporting, just put something like dynamic reporting feedback in the title of your case and tell us what you think. And then that'll get routed over to our customer care team, and they'll send it over to me for me to review exactly. If you guys are an agency advertiser, you don't have cases just yet in the network that's coming for you later this year. So at this time, you can just email your representative, who is probably Erin Killian, and she'll send your feedback over my way too. All right, that's it for today for me. So I'm going to open it up to questions. So I'm going to unmute everybody here, or you can type your questions in the question box. Great, doesn't look like we're getting any questions in. Chris, did you have anything else for our attendees today? All right, doesn't sound like Chris has anything else either. Well, thanks everybody so much for attending, and we appreciate you listening.